right? So I'm going to go kind of fast here. We have HIPAA and 42 CFR. And so each and every person, when they come in here, you know, they sign a HIPAA and 42 CFR statement that says, hey, I'm going to follow these rules, right? And so, once again, if HIPAA and 42 CFR disagree, then which one do you follow?
The strictest.
You always follow the most restrictive. So you always follow the most restrictive. Okay. So patient identifying information. So this is really what is restricted. Patient identifying information. And so patient identifying information is anything that would allow the identification of that patient. And so it doesn't just have to be the social security number or the name. But if you give enough information that that patient could be identified by the person who you're talking to, well, then you've broken HIPAA or 42 CFR. And so, of course, the best way to protect that is, well, we don't give out information unless we have a properly signed release. And so if all the boxes are filled on an NAIC release, it's a properly signed release, okay? If you ever have questions about, well, why are all those boxes there, then just come see me and I'll be happy to direct you to the appropriate law. Now, what if DHS calls you and they say, hey, I've got a release, I need to fax it over there, but you know, can you go ahead and tell me about this client? What would you say?
Nope.
No, you got to send me that release.
Right.
If it's not our release and you don't know what's required in the release, then who do you ask? You ask your supervisor, because your supervisor will know. Okay, what do we do if we breach confidentiality? Like, for instance, I take home, you know, a briefcase full of notes that's locked, and I go into Homeland to buy something for dinner on my way home, and somebody breaks the back of my window and steals that back. So what do I do?
Report critical incident to you immediately. Critical incident?
All right, you're going to do a critical incident, but we are going to report a confidentiality breach to the state. And so if you tell me, hey, I released this information on a client that I shouldn't have, then you and I are going to sit down in my office and we're going to call the Advocate General. And you're going to report yourself as having made a confidentiality breach. And so it happens from time to time, so just kind of be ready for it. Don't let it scare you, but it will happen. Okay, when in doubt about confidentiality, right, it's always best to go to your supervisor. We have, counselors will know this, we have certain times that we can release without a release. And that is a judge's order, as we mentioned before, or duty to warn, or a crime committed against you or this agency. In those situations, you can release without a consent. And if you're going to do any of those releases, then you probably want to talk to your supervisor first. Okay, so let's do this thing real quick. Number one, the two federal laws that protect consumer confidentiality in NAIC are
CFR 42, Part 2, and HIPAA.
HIPAA and 42 CFR Part 2. If HIPAA permits a disclosure and 42 CFR says that you can't, which one do you follow? 42 CFR.
is the strictest.
Patient identifying information is
Any information that could identify
any information that allows the patient to be identified. The best way to protect consumer confidentiality is
Don't give out any information.
Ask the consumer to sign a valid.
Sign a valid consent for release of information.
ask the consumer to sign a valid consent for the release of information. All right, you can be sure that any consent that we get from DHS or a lawyer or anybody else, if he's a lawyer, you know he got it right, right? False.
False.
Absolutely not. Okay. Ways to breach confidentiality would include discussing about consumers at the reception desk or the hallway and being overheard, leaving paperwork lying in the front seat of your car or anywhere else where somebody can see it, not properly disposing of paperwork by putting it in this shred box, but throwing it in the trash, and then it goes to the dump and somebody picks it up out of the dump. Would all those be breaches?
All of the above.
If in doubt about confidentiality, it's best to
Go to your
ask your
supervisor.
All right, very good.